Several Chicago area men who allegedly went looking for sex yesterday morning ended up in handcuffs, and not the velvet kind. They were picked up by the Cook County Sheriff's Police. Tonight we begin an in-depth look at the fight against sex trafficking, with what many say should have started decades ago, targeting the Johns.
All right, girls, whoever wants to go first, we're ready.
Undercover sheriff's officers posing as prostitutes say they attracted men taking a quick break from work, hoping to purchase a quickie from a working girl. They were caught up in a reverse sting. How you feel about what just happened?
I'm not speaking English enough.
Our cameras made their very bad day even worse. Accused would-be Johns like to remain John Does. You didn't do anything?
No.
No longer anonymous, the Cook County Sheriff has their names, their vehicles, and soon lots of their money. Then they've got to go home. Are you married?
I think it's hard to justify $1,000, $1,500 plus your car being gone to the family.
In the sordid world of sex for sale, getting arrested is not the worst that can happen.
They can be robbed. They can be beaten up. We've had, in both occasions, we've had people that have been shot.
But buyers often claim police should not be coming after them. Do you think there's any victims in it?
Yeah. Like I said, I'm the victim.
You don't think that the women that are out there being prostituted are victims?
They don't have to be out there.
In fact, most of the people worked in the sex trade have been brutalized and exploited since childhood. Patricia is one survivor.
From the ages of 8 to 12, I had been molested, and then when I decided to tell my mother, she didn't believe me. So she put me out.
Then someone put their claws in them, feeds them full of heroin, and basically feeds them a little bit as long as they service, 5 to 20 guys a day, and then they don't get beat.
Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart is leading a national movement to push law enforcement out of the dark ages on sex trafficking. So they've always arrested the person being prostituted and let the Johns go.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much it was seen as just a pure victimless crime, a nuisance. Let's get the prostitute off the street because the neighbors are complaining, but other than that, who cares?
Where law enforcement is finally saying, we've been arresting and rearresting women for years, nothing's changing. Maybe it's time to shift our tactic. And so you stop the demand and the sex trade dissolves, because there's no reason for it to exist.
People who battle sexual exploitation welcome the shift to treating the customers like criminals, and they say Johns are feeling the heat.
They don't want their family to find out. They don't want their workplace to find out, and so it starts to work. They report that they are going to stop their hobby, that the hobby isn't worth it if it means that it jeopardizes other parts of their life.
Researcher Laura Jansen just spent 2 years immersed in the web chat of sex buyers. The internet has given them a place to gather.
For whatever reason that men get into purchasing sex, they become a tight community, a brotherhood.
One site alone has 300,000 registered users and even more visitors, offering tips on buying sex in every community. Most of them claim to be happily married or partnered, just looking for the kind of sex only money can buy.
There's an active fantasy that the men on these forums construct about an ideal sexual experience.
Clearly, these sites are being manipulated and used by people for carrying out crimes.
The sheriff says the internet is fueling an explosion in sex trafficking, but it's also a tool law enforcement can use. Guys may find the hot spot they read about online turned into the worst date of their lives. That's your work van?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to pay to get it out.
How much?
At least $1,100 between the tow, the impound, and the citation for violating the public morals ordinance. If you're a first offender, the fine doubles after that. But the commander tells me they don't get many repeats. Men do not want to take that risk again, so it's a pretty good deterrent.
It's a lot different with the prostitutes, though, isn't it?
Oh, they were being arrested repeatedly. The same person basically back out on the street before the paperwork was done, and they realized that they were just spinning their wheels and spending our taxpayer money and not making a dent in the problem. So now going after the demand and offering the prostituted person services as opposed to just criminalizing them actually seems to be having more of an effect, and it's what people would like to see happen on a nationwide basis.